This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through HACCP.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Approved supplier management. Key definitions for approved supplier management. Approved service provider. Service providers are generally classed as businesses that supply a service into a food business. Approved supplier. Suppliers are generally classed as businesses that supply a physical element into a food business. Approved supplier management development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of approved supplier management within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About approved supplier management. About ethical sourcing standards. Suppliers and service providers. Procurement protocols. Approved supplier program. Supplier assessment considerations. About approved supplier management. Approved supplier management programs are implemented to ensure a food business has control of materials and services supplied. An effectively implemented approved supplier management program provides confidence that the supplied materials or services will not negatively impact upon the safety or quality of finished products. In a modern age where information is readily available, bad news travels at speed. Customers of food businesses play a leading role in ensuring the raw materials or services used to manufacture their products meet certain expectations. Ethical sourcing standards often play a large role in the continued use of food businesses as elements of the established food supply chains. About ethical sourcing standards. Ethical sourcing standards are applied across international food industries to ensure sourcing is facilitated in a responsible manner, to ensure suppliers continually improve their social and environmental practices and shield retailer and brand confidence. Ethical sourcing standards is a general expectation of consumers who, over time, have become increasingly aware of purchasing goods and services that have been sourced in a manner that does not include exploitation of humans, wildlife or the environment, or in a manner that does not represent a danger to the health or safety of humans, wildlife or the environment. In an effort to provide food items and general merchandise at competitive prices, retailers are continually forced to source items from a variety of international locations, including from developing countries. Instances of exposed poor working conditions and environmental degradation within developing countries over time have seen retail businesses develop and implement targeted social responsibility requirements for their suppliers. Common elements of ethical sourcing standards policies implemented by progressive retail businesses include using suppliers that source, manufacture and package their products in a responsible manner. Working with suppliers to improve their social and environmental practices. The basis of ethical sourcing standards is commonly linked to recognized ethical trading and labor initiatives. These are often used to define the guidelines for the ethical sourcing standards mandated by retail companies, suppliers or service providers. Within modern food businesses, there is generally a clear distinction between suppliers of raw materials and service providers. Suppliers are generally classed as businesses that supply a physical element into a food business, including but not limited to ingredients, finished products, packaging, chemicals, on-site testing equipment, on-site analytical testing supplies, equipment and utensils, premises construction. Service providers are generally classed as businesses that supply a service into a food business, including but not limited to analytical testing, calibration or measuring and testing equipment, consulting, pest control, cleaning and sanitation, maintenance and repairs, subcontract manufacturers, subcontract processors, subcontract packers, transport providers, logistics and storage providers. Within the following content, we will use the term suppliers, for which the requirements should be considered equally for both product suppliers and service providers. Procurement protocols. Before purchasing agreements are initiated with specified suppliers, it is important to obtain as much information as possible about the products and raw materials to be supplied. Product information from the pending or existing supplier will outline details regarding basic product specifications. It is important here to consider any additional details that may impact upon the potential of the product to become unsafe for use within your business. The following factors may be considered: the shelf life of the product. Will the product be used before organoleptic, chemical and microbiological changes render the item unsafe for consumption? The product availability. Will the product be available for the duration for which it is required by your business? The product specifications. Are your specifications for the product maintainable? Is there a record of specifications kept within your business for the items supplied? Procurement process considerations logical sequence. Supplier invitation. Provide potential supplier with a questionnaire regarding their products and services. Supplier input. Potential supplier provides samples and information for assessment. Samples, information and supplier quality details are reviewed. Supplier technical review. Purchasing team members reviews all materials submitted by the potential supplier and indicates conditions of supply including audit schedules and hazard rating. It is important at this step to ensure that the proposed products or services are suitable for their intended scope and purpose of use for foodstuffs. Supplier price review. Potential suppliers' products and services are compared to those of current or other potential suppliers regarding quality and price. Supplier acceptance. Supplier is accepted and added to the nominated supplier listing. A file should be created for the supplier if one doesn't exist. Use of supplier. Procurement process is complete. Continue use of approved suppliers and initiate reviews and auditing as scheduled. The approved supplier management and procurement processes are commonly managed on an ongoing basis with scheduled verification activities and reviews to ensure the effectiveness and currency of the established systems. Approved supplier program. The suppliers that you choose to use for your business should demonstrate as a minimum a proactive commitment to currently recognized good manufacturing practices, meet all relevant certification criteria as suppliers for their nominated range of products, and have made a commitment to a minimum of HACCP-based food safety within the entirety of their business operations. Confirming supplier suitability. The following methods may be considered when assessing a prospective or existing supplier for approval. A desk audit of the supplier's quality and food safety programs regarding propriety and suitability. The aim of this will be to locate essential components of recognized GMP and HACCP-based food safety, and the associated identification and control of significant food safety hazards. The risk category of the goods being supplied and the supplier's reputation for quality service. Reports of microbiological analysis of the supplier's potentially hazardous products from accredited sources that show adherence to legislative and/or internationally recognized microbiological guidelines. Ongoing random testing of delivered items by appropriate methods to confirm the microbiological safety and suitability. Confirmation that all relevant staff have undergone appropriate personal and food hygiene training equal to their vocational activities. Auditing of the supplier, including the gathering of objective evidence by a suitable person from your business or a reputable third party, as to the ability of the supplier's operations to identify and control significant food safety hazards. The outcomes of such auditing should result in a closeout of any non-conformances higher than minor in rating before proceeding with supplier approval. The official, current and relevant certification of a supplier by a reputable certification body. Should an approved supplier fail to adhere to the 7 HACCP principles as nominated in the Codex HACCP guidelines, maintain internationally accepted food industry GMP practices, continually maintain sufficient control over monitoring and corrective actions at any HACCP within their food safety program. There may be sufficient grounds to remove such a supplier from the approved supplier program regarding the objective evidence in terms of the above-mentioned non-conformances. Commodity-based supplier risk assessment criteria. It is important to consider the varieties of foods being supplied regarding their potentiality to contain or cause food safety hazards. The acceptance of suppliers should be approached accordingly, initiating differing approval criteria for varying levels of food item risk. Suppliers with products that contain food of animal origin including red meat, poultry, fish, shellfish, crustaceans, eggs, milk and dairy products. Any food of plant origin that has been heat treated and has a history of foodborne disease including potatoes, squash, pumpkin, rice, processed beans, mushrooms, onions, tofu. Any untreated food of plant origin with a history of foodborne disease including seed sprouts, cut fruits or vegetables, tightly wrapped produce such as mushrooms and coleslaw. Processed fruits or vegetables including variances of marination, drying or cooking. Synthetic foods including artificial creams or fillings. Foods that are potentially hazardous and not generally subjected to further cooking may require more scrutiny for approval than those who supply foods that have a lower risk of contamination. Foods of lower risk include those that do not have a history of contamination or the normal ability to support the growth of microbiological pathogens. They include grains, nuts, confectionery, carbonated and alcoholic beverages, jams and preserves, commercially canned and bottled products. Whilst traditionally high-risk foods are our major concern within approved supplier management systems, it is of utmost importance that the suppliers of all raw materials and services are assessed for risk and treated accordingly. Packaging variants should also be considered within risk-based assessments of suppliers. The origin and food grade status confirmations for packaging should be defining factors within any risk assessment process. It is important to confirm that packaging will conform to the legal requirements of the country in which the packaged products will be sold. Geography or status-based supplier risk assessment criteria. Within modern food industries, it is important to consider that the capability for rapid transfer of information provides substantial opportunities to manage approved supplier systems while considering issues which arise within similar products or food industry sectors in other parts of the globe. It has fast become best practice to use the awareness of foodborne illness or contamination within other countries or continents to apply requirements or sanctions on existing suppliers of materials or services. The following example shows a logical sequence for consideration of geographical-based supplier assessment criteria. You review an email news report stating that a contaminant is identified within a vegetable product manufactured and packaged within country X. You receive a similar vegetable product from an approved supplier, and though it is not the same brand as the contaminated vegetable product, you review your product specifications to confirm the country of origin. You see that the country of origin for your supplied vegetable product is country X, the same as the contaminated vegetable product. You immediately discuss this detail with the relevant persons within your food business. Upon deciding that you are not totally confident that the vegetable product you are receiving is not also contaminated, you contact the supplier or manufacturer of this vegetable product and request some testing results to confirm that their product is not contaminated. You receive and review the testing results and make a decision to continue use based on the outcomes. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business. The information and training resources available through HACCP.com include a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.